Testing the mic. Oh, that helps, doesn't it? Literally, guys, I just recorded an entire video with no microphone. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to look at Star Wars, the Clone Wars using the pandemic system. So you can see the box art here. This is a 60-minute-ish game. I think one of the games we played only lasted 45 minutes. The other one's slightly over an hour, so that's probably about right. It says it's age 14 plus. I'd say 10 plus. I don't think there's anything here that's so mind-bending that your kid's going to have trouble. And it's 1 to 5 players, so you can play this one solo. Now, if you've been here for a while watching my board game videos, you'll know I'm a huge fan of Pandemic. It's my favourite game of all time. Don't be put off. Don't be put off before we finish chatting about this one, because although it says it uses the pandemic system, and it does, it uses it to different effect, and I would say it's so different that it doesn't even feel like Pandemic. So don't be put off this one if you don't like Pandemic, Dave. You may well enjoy this game. So basically, the lightest version I can give you is you're playing Jedis, you're fighting villains, of course, and each villain has their own special powers. Each character has their own special power, much like the roles in Pandemic. And you're traveling around the board or the galaxy to different planets to do different missions. Good guys against bad guys, go through different missions, finally get to the bad guy, defeat the bad guy, you've won the game. But unlike Pandemic, this game uses dice. I know, Dave, don't be put off. My buddy Dave, he hates Pandemic, and I'm always razzing him because I love Pandemic, as you probably know. But this one's really cool. So what this does is it lets you tap your cards. You can tap cards to do more damage. You can, I think you can discard cards to lessen damage that you're going to take. You are essentially traveling around the board trying to minimize the Imperial forces that are, you can see these droids here that I've got on screen at the moment. And it uses the usual, you know, travel place to place, deal with whatever's there, try and minimize that, and then travel to the next place. The difference being the villain can show up on the board, and that can lead to making it a little bit more difficult. You can see the missions here that you have to get through before you get to the villain. The only thing I didn't like about this one, as games goes, I thought the board was super boring. I don't really know what else they could have done, because it's essentially just a blank board with the different planets, but it really didn't do it for me. Here it is. Here you can see it's quite bland, even compared to a Pandemic board. As I say, there's not a whole lot that they could do. Each turn you've got 4 actions. Move to a planet, you can attack if there's droids there. There's blockades as well that come out, the usual sort of thing. But unlike Pandemic, there is dice, as I think I've mentioned. Here we go, you can see the damage on there. So that adds a little bit of randomness to it, which I wouldn't say makes it worse. I'd actually say makes it more fun because of that. A lot more fun to play, in fact. The figures are okay. They're made of like a light plastic. Some people on Board Game Geek have done an amazing job of painting them up, given the quality of them. Of all the Pandemic games that I've played, and I own all of the different versions, this one's probably closest to the Warcraft one, the Lich King, but I have only played that once, so I can't really talk to it too much. You can see here in this image the size between the characters and those battle droids that are placed out on the planets. The figures are okay. Right, so down to the nitty gritty. I thought this was a lot of fun, despite that boring board, and very unlike a Pandemic. I would say this is going to be great if you have got a family game night and you've got a Star Wars fan in the mix. I would definitely think of getting this one to the table. As I said, even if you don't like Pandemic, that's how different I think it is compared to the game that it's apparently using the mechanics of. That's it. That's my rough thoughts, and man, they were rough, weren't they? My brain isn't working great today. My rough thoughts of Star Wars, the Clone Wars. I'd say get it and give it a go. If you're not going to buy it, I would still try and get it to the table just to show you how different it is compared to the other Pandemic games. And who knows, you might end up buying it. Give Matt Leacock more money. He deserves it. That's it. That was our look today at Star Wars The Clone Wars. One I think you should definitely wishlist. And we'll leave it on this image here because whoever painted these, bravo to you, person, for getting those shonky figures to look that good. I'll see you on the next video. Take care of yourself.